Many moons ago, concept cars were not a reality. They never made it onto the production line, keeping a lot of enthusiasts like you and us dejected. But change is the only constant, and trends are changing, and so is the face of the automobile industry. Crossovers are a rage today. Manufacturers are going an extra mile or even two to make sure the buyers are attracted to their products. But what happens when you take a snazzy concept car and put it onto the production line? Well, the waiting period on the car goes up to almost a year. Now we have built up a lot of drama. And if you're wondering what we are talking about, we are talking about Tata's newest baby in the portfolio and the very versatile Tata Punch. Here is what it looks like. Welcome to a brand new episode of Car Saathi, your one-stop car buying comparative guide. If you're wondering if this little Tata is here to give a knockout punch to its competitors, stay with us to the end of this video. The H2X concept, which this car is based on, was first showcased at the 2019 Geneva Motor Show. It was later showcased at the 2020 Auto Expo in Delhi. It has garnered a lot of attention. It is built on a brand new philosophy called the Impact 2.0 according to Tata. The Altroz shares a similar platform. The architecture is called the Alpha architecture. What it essentially means is agile, flexible, light and advanced. The design strategy has clearly worked for Tata. This Mini Harrier is a good looking car. As a matter of fact, all the cars in his portfolio are rather good looking. But before we go any further, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification icon to receive updates when we make a brand new upload of a knockout car like the Tata Punch. What angle this car looks best from? We are wondering the same. This with us today is the Creative Era variant of the car in the model lineup and happens to be the top spec trim. This is a price sensitive segment, but we are happy to announce that there is a car for all sorts of budgets and all sorts of buyers. And here on your screens is the price breakup of the all-new Tata Punch. Let's talk variants. This being the top of the line Creative, below which sits the Accomplished, below which sits the Adventure, and finally the Pure, which is the base car. There are also custom packages. This one is the ERA. ERA stands for Intelligent Real-Time Assist, below which sits the Accomplished Dazzle Pack. Yes, that is a name. And below which sits the Adventure Rhythm Pack, and finally the Pure Rhythm Pack. I know it's a little confusing, it was for us right in the beginning, but we have a special video comparing just the variants of the Punch, so it's easier for you to pick the right one for yourself. Now, the description of that is available in the description box down below. Do not forget to take a look at that. It's finally time to talk about the design of the car. Let's begin with the key. It's a snazzy looking key with a piano finish on the sides. There are a few buttons for lights as well. You can operate the boot as well. It's hard to believe that Tata has come such a long way from the Indica EV to something like this. This Mini Harrier is a good looking car. The front of the car is designed in such a fashion that it looks like a clamshell bonnet, but it isn't. It's got some swoops on the sides. On the upper portion is very similar to the Harrier. The headlamp systems are down here, but it is decorated by a DRL which is really sharp. You can see it in daytime. Of course, there is a snazzy looking chrome element that goes below the front grille of the car that goes all the way to the back. Right in the center is the Tata emblem. Around it is a similar feature that is on the key. It's got a piano finish right here, looks very nice. There is a tri-arrow design here to expose the horn a little bit so it's more loud, but it's uneven, it looks odd. Some might like it, some might not, but beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. But then again, you also have some snazzy looking headlamp systems right here. There is a projector lamp for the low beam and the bulb right next to it is the high beam. Pretty powerful for the car of its size. It looks good. The lower half of the bumper where the fog lamps sit is a regular bulb but has the cornering function. Looks really smart. The entire design of the car is really smart. You also have the front air dam which is split into two. There is a number plate that goes right in between, but there is a tri-arrow design right here as well. That makes the car look good. I think Tata has slightly overdone the tri-arrow design. It's everywhere all around the car, but nothing that's a deal breaker. This snazzy little Tata comes in snazzy colors. This one in particular is my personal favorite, but there are also other colors. There's another blue. They're calling it some sort of a misty, sort of a greenish blue color. It looks really nice. There is a red, there is an orange, there is a brown, and there's also a white for people who prefer that sort of color. All in all, a good looking car. What do you think about this? Do let us know in the comments box down below. Let's take a look at the car from the side. In certain angles, the chrome that extends all the way into the bonnet looks a little bit and reminds us of the Range Rover Evoque, but we're being too optimistic here, but it looks good nevertheless. On the side is sort of a haunch that matches the front, the edge of the light here, and there's a lot of body cladding. Makes the car, this crossover, look a little butch. On the lower half of the car, it is shod with 195/60 R16 Apollo all-nakh 4G tires. Now this is the top of the line era. The smaller variants, the lower variants get 15 inches, 185 sections. This has 16-inch alloy wheels that are diamond cut. It's a combination of silver and black. It looks really snazzy, looks really good. The only problem here is that they don't fill out the wheel arches that well. I wish there was a bigger tire size, but you can't complain for this segment. It also has partial cladding. We'll talk about it when we come to the harshness or the road noise that these tires and the cladding gives you. But moving on the sides you have very beautiful custom paint here. It's a combination of blue and white. You can design this to have in certain shades and colors. When we come to the variants, the video that we have uploaded for you, you can take a look at it, how to customize it for your own good, for your own liking. Now this has integrated indicators. This is an auto folding mirror. It does not have the heating function, but no other cars in the segment have that either. This is blacked out, the A pillar, as is the B pillar and the C pillar. We'll take a look at that. On the door front, there are a little crease here and there. There's one that runs across the length of the car all the way to the tail light and matches towards the end. You have a little sensor button right here. The whole design here, well, it's a noteworthy feature. It looks really good, really smart. It's well integrated. You have a keyhole right here. You have a sensor right here, so it's keyless entry. On the lower half, you also have a sort of a notch that flares out into the cladding of the car that runs across the length of the car. It looks good, but it's a plastic bit. I don't know how durable it is, but still gives the car a good glance. Speaking of the height of the car, this is about 190 mm of ground clearance, 165 odd with laden weight. I think that's good for all sorts of terrain, and it's never going to hit anything down there, so you can go about anywhere you want. One other thing worth noticing is that the rear door, there's a haunch that matches the rear door, but there's no handle right here, so it's a little bit similar to the Swift, if you will. The door handle is right here. Takes a little time to get used to, but it's all good. You also have a roof rail right here, which is in black. It looks good, suits the car. Towards the other half, the later half of the car, the line, like we mentioned, meets the tail lamp. We'll take a look at those snazzy tail lamps that run about the length of the rear quarter panel and has a very interesting Tata emblem right into it. It looks really sharp, looks really smart. Overall, a good looking design from the side especially, and well, nothing to complain. This beautiful roof line slopes towards the rear and is a combination of the rear spoiler, which houses the high mount stop lamp. A very clean design really. On the lower side, you'll notice that the C pillar merges into the glass area, so it looks like a floating roof line. It looks really nice. There is of course the defogger, and you have a wiper, this being the top of the line. What we like about Tata is that it has these little Easter eggs in all of its cars, and there is a rhino motif right here, which many of these cars have. Their little lions and all of that, so I think that's a thing that you can associate with Tata, and it's a very beautiful thing. This is something that we are very, very impressed by. I don't know how Tata has been able to pull this off, but this is a tri-arrow LED element into the rear tail light. It's really small, but it looks really good. So now most cars have these big tail lights, and this is the complete opposite of that. It looks really beautiful. You have to look really up close and see all these elements that break into it. It's still a combination. It looks really smart. It goes all the way into the rear haunch of the car, and it looks very, very nice. This is where you get reminded of the H2X concept, and it's really beautiful. There is a haunch here which is very, very noticeable. So it's a sort of a dip. It's really sharp where the tail lamp meets the rear portion. Looks really smart. There are lots of curves going on for the car. There is a sharp line. There is a Tata logo that sits right under it, and underneath that sits the rear view camera. The integration of that may not be the best, but it doesn't look out of place. It looks really nice. Of course, then you have the Punch lettering that is spaced out. There is no other badging. There is no way to figure out, if you're looking from the rear, to figure out what variant of the car this is, but it looks really nice. The lower half of the bumper, again, it's all blacked out. They could have used a faux skid plate to break the monotony, but they haven't done it. It looks like something is missing. Usually this is where the rear defogger is, and then you have the tri-arrow design again with the reflectors embedded into it. It looks sort of nice, but it looks like slightly unfinished. I wish they had used a little more color here. One thing worth noticing is that it's got rear parking sensors which is integrated nicely, so you can't see them very quickly. The lower half blends into the lower end of the car. You can't see the tail pipe at all, and overall I think the design looks good. What are your thoughts? Do let us know. Let's take a look into the boot. Well, that's a 366 litre of boot space. It's very, very accessible. It looks good, spacious. You can remove this and extend it all the way. The only problem with the Tata Punch is that you don't have a 60-40 split, so the entire seat folds down, but you don't have the convenience of 60-40. Nevertheless, you still have 366 litres, which is the highest in the segment. As a matter of fact, even bigger players like the Venue have a smaller boot. The only player in the market that probably has a bigger boot than this one is the Kia Sonet, but nothing to complain. It's a segment above. Whole lot of usable place, but you will notice that there are haunches right here that actually accommodate the suspension, and it's a little crude to look at. There is a sort of a rubber cap which, if removed, can expose the top halves of the suspension. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but well, you got to make do. There are other bits that you'll probably not see, but the finish on the inside of the boot is a thumbs down from us. Everything else, there is a cladding up here where usually it is exposed. You also have a handle to close it, and it's not all that sturdy, but does the job all right. For shorter folk, you can actually use this to close the boot. You also have a button right here to open that, so it's just a very easy thing. We're finally inside the Tata Punch, and I can tell you on the first instance that this is a well-designed car inside out. The engineers at Tata, the designing team, is really commendable, the job that they've done. There's so many layers here. The seat is comfortable, the dash looks eccentric. It's got a little bit here and there, it's got layers, it's got textures. All of it is hard plastic, but it looks good. This is something that looks, this is a car that's masquerading as a 12 lakh rupee car, but I think it's a little higher up there. I may be too optimistic, but the feel, fit and finish, it's well put together. There's a lot to be desired, but as a Tata product, it's a long way that Tata has come from, let's say, the likes of the Indica versus this. The seat is comfortable, it's got the right amount of cushioning, the seat back can be adjusted, the seat height can be adjusted, it's comfortable for long drives. You can see the tri-arrow pattern is all over the car, as we've already seen. The seat can be, of course, be adjusted to movement. Tall passengers are going to be a little bit complainant because it may not be able to accommodate a bigger passenger. For me, it's really comfortable. The seat height also is very comfortable. The view out there is good enough. The reach to all sorts of equipment that's available on the car is within reach, and that makes it for a comfortable drive. The door sill is not very high. You can see around. The visibility is good except for the C-pillar back there, but you have a reversing camera, at least in the top spec version. Everything else is hard plastic. Everything that you touch is hard plastic, and it's at least not scratchy like what you get in Maruti Suzuki products, but this is a segment above. The steering is leather clad. It's again plastic, but they're breaking the monotony by adding silver accents here and there. This one, the Ira, comes with blue surrounds for the air conditioning, which is upping the game a little bit, and it looks snazzy. May not be to everyone's taste, but you can pick your choices. This crash pad right here is white in color. It's what Tata calls ivory, but it's still got the tri-arrow pattern right here. It looks all right. It's got an automatic climate control right here. This is the top of the line AMT version, but we'll come to the combinations of the gearboxes and the only engine option available at the moment, at least. This is the Harman touchscreen system. That's a 7-inch screen, and it's a TFT display. It looks sharp, it's sensitive, it's a touch which is very smooth, nothing to complain. It lags a little bit, but it does the job all right. It's got connectivity features. It's got the Ira, which is the intelligent real-time assist. It works like the Alexa in Google and Siri in the iPhone. It's a lot more intuitive. It's got a host of functions, some of which are now on your screens. That's what the dash or the MID of the Tata Punch looks like. On the left hand side, you will notice that it is a digital instrument. On the right hand side is analog. The shape, like we mentioned earlier, is not to our taste. I wish they were rounder, or the complete unit could have been a digital display, but well, you have toggle switches on the right hand side to change. What essentially it does is shows you the power and torque delivery. It's a little gimmicky, but it's not functional really. But you have other settings that you can look into, example the illumination, etc. You can go out by going back like so. You can change and see the distance to empty meter, which is very important in a country like India. The instant fuel economy. You have 2 trip meters. There's one trip meter A and B, and you also go back to the main menu via the same buttons. You also have cruise control in the Tata Punch. The steering is adjustable to height, but not to rake. It's a little bit harder, but it does the job. I wish it was tilt and rake function. It doesn't have that, but the height of it can be adjusted, and the seat height can also be adjusted, so it's really comfortable. There are functions for the music system on the left, on the right for the MID. You also have the door trim right here, which is comfortable. It's a little close, but I'm a small person. I'm not 6 feet tall, but everything is handy. It's got power mirrors. It's got an auto function for the driver's side. I wish it was there on the co-driver's passenger side as well, but that's not the case. Everything else, this here looks like sort of a wooden finish, but it is in plastic, and it really complements the car. There are layers, and it looks really good. There is a USB here. There is no auxiliary, but you can connect your phone via Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it is not wireless. Something of the like of the Magnite or the Renault Kiger have a 360-degree camera and wireless phone charging, along with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it's got a host of other functions in the car that the others don't have, and it's a good to have feature, must to have features that you will see the list of on your screens right now. The gear shift is surrounded by a piano black finish on the AMT, and the surround of which is in brushed aluminium sort of finish in the manual. The manual is a 5-speed automatic. This is the AMT. We are not a big fan of this, but we'll talk about that when we come to the drive of the vehicle. On the lower half is some sort of storage. It does not have a wireless charging pad. The handbrake is on the left hand side, as if this was a left hand drive oriented vehicle. We've not seen that before, but I think it frees up a little space for the driver. You can have cup holders. They're not too deep, so you probably won't be able to store your coffee. There is one right here which is a little deeper, but things will clatter around because it's dark. It's deep, but it's also very plasticky. There's no padding or anything of that sort. One other thing worth noticing is it comes with a button start, and it comes with driving modes as well. The miss that Tata Punch has given to is the IRVM. It's not auto, which is a big miss for a car that costs so much on road. The vanity mirrors are missing on the driver's side. It's available on the co-driver's side, but the sunshade is very budget grade, as is the roof liner, which is quite a disappointment because the Tigor and the Tiago have better finishes here. I don't know why Tata has given it a skip. Speaking of fabrics, here there is a fabric insert for the Tigor, but it does not come here, or we don't see it. Everything else is plasticky, but it's not too comfortable. I wish, however, there was a center armrest to rest your arm here. That I think is missing. Everything otherwise is all right. The glove box is worth a mention here. It's fairly accommodating. It's deep. This is one of the few glove boxes that you see going really deep. You can store stuff. There is a special place for you to put your iPads or even your laptop. It's also illuminated and cooled, which is a rarity in this segment. You don't see it very often. There is also something that is worth mentioning, which is this again. So Tata has Easter eggs, we've already mentioned, and there is a rhino motive right here, which is a cool addition. Tata doesn't have to do it, but it still does it. It brings you the pleasure of owning India made vehicle. And speaking of which, this is in sync with India, the system, and you've already seen the functions. There's a host of other functions as well. You can speak to the system, you can find locations, the safeguard your own car. It'll show up things where the car needs to get serviced. It'll show you Tata's service centers. One other thing is that it understands commands in English, Hindi, and now English, so it'll be easier for you and I to give it commands. Let's move to the back of the vehicle. This rear seat in the Tata Punch is really comfortable. It's best suited for 4 adults. You can't carry 5 abreast. It's going to be a little tight. Of course, you can carry kids. Tata claims that it has a flat floor, but that's not the truth. It's got a little bit of a hump, but it's not too intrusive. One thing that you will notice that you're sitting a little bit more upright than usual. Other cars are a little more inclined, the seats. This you cannot adjust at all. But I will tell you this, the thickness and the density of the cushioning here is just spot on. So you won't get tired on your longer journeys. It'll be far more comfortable. Even here, the visibility is great. The view outside is fantastic. You can adjust the headrest, which are not fused this time around. The ones in the front are also not integrated into the seats, which is a good addition. That is also a safety aspect, and we like it that way. There are also door pockets, the seat pockets, and they're available on the left hand side as well. The door pockets will accommodate 1 liter bottles easily. The armrest is a little hard, but it's all right. There's a power window switch right here. The door opens into a 90-degree angle, which is amazing, and it actually facilitates very easy ingress and egress. Older folk will not complain, although the footboard is a little bit on the tighter side, so ingress and egress for older folk will be a little difficult. The car is a little bit high off the ground, but nothing is a deal breaker. Even here you'll notice that to get a little more comfortable, you also have a center armrest. Here you also have this little knob to pull it down, and you can sit comfortably. Worth mentioning is that there are no cup holders in the back. You'll have to make do with a very central, but it's not floppy. It's nice and sturdy. It'll take a weight. That's a good thing. One other thing that is missing from the car is rear AC vents, but to be very honest, the air conditioning system on the car is really powerful given the statistics of the vehicle, and it chills the cabin in no time. But overall, I think the feel and fit and finish is satisfactory. It could have been better. One major thing that is the fly in the ointment is the finish of the roof lining, which we've already mentioned. But there is a bar that runs across and it's sort of exposed and doesn't look very nice. The handles here are very nice. They go back slowly and it's all nice. Tata has made an effort to make sure that the car is comfortable, at least for 4 occupants. Nothing to complain. There's enough leg room for even a 6-footer. 2 6-footers, however, cannot sit behind each other. I think someone like 5'10", maybe my height, can probably fit in there. The headroom is also sufficient, but there's not too much shoulder room. Like we said, it's good for 4 adults, not 5. Before anything else, on a sunny day like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the brake pedal and start the car and turn the AC on. I have to tell you this, that the AC is going to be loud at most times, and this is a very effective AC for the size of the car, the engine. I think it's a perfect blend. One other thing is that we are going to be driving the AMT. The heart of the matter remains that this is a 1.2 litre NA petrol that comes from the Altroz, albeit the fact that this does not have the turbocharger. So the power delivery is 85 horses and 130 Newton meter of torque. While this is substantial on paper, what this does is not match up to the name of the Tata Punch, and we're going to take it for a little spin. Like we said, we are driving the AMT. There is also a manual transmission available. It's a 5-speed manual. On startup itself, you'll notice the 1 litre 3-cylinder thrum that you get from a 3-cylinder pot, which is a typical trait. Everything is a little bit shaky. You can feel the shake on the brake pedal and the accelerator. If the door is left open, you can also see it a little bit shaky, but you get used to it. When the car comes to life and it warms up, the engine warms up, it's all okay. What you need to do is to start the engine. You have a start stop engine button. You need to press the brake pedal and the car has to be neutral to start. There is only a reverse and an automatic option. You also can move it into the manual drive. For now, let's move into the auto and start driving. The steering is really soft for city speeds. This being an AMT, the gearbox is a little bit jerky and you get that typical head bob, which can get a little annoying. It's not low on power as such in city speeds, but we are going through an off-road mode here, and you will notice that the car can easily and is very capable of doing that. We genuinely wish that Tata had plonked the 1.2 turbocharged motor, because this could get really loud. The beauty with the manual is that you can drive the car at about 40 kilometers an hour at about 1750 rpm, which is quite a lot. At the same time, it's got that low end torque that you need from an engine like this. At the same time, it gets really boomy because the power is delivered at 6000 rpm and the torque is delivered at 3300 newton rpm, which is a little bit on the higher side. Especially after 5000 rpm, the car gets very, very loud, and you'll notice that it's not ideal to the ears. It's not a loudness that you would like to hear, and there is no point in putting this car to the pedal to the metal sort of a thing, because it is very jerky at low speeds. As you can see, it's not the camera that's shaking, it's actually the road, and it's all the head movement, the bobbing that you get from an AMT is just there. What we would have preferred is for Tata to source an automatic gearbox like it has done for the Harrier and the Safari, which come from Hyundai. I wish that they had actually moved the AMT from the Santro into this, because it's got the electronic actuators. What that does is make the drive oh so seamless, and the Punch just doesn't have the punch, to be very honest. If there is a fly in the ointment, this is it. Although low speed drivability and city speeds is okay, highway speeds up to about 90 odd kilometers is fine, after which the wind noise, the vibration from the engine is just too intrusive for a fun drive. But overall, the feel of the car is sturdy because it's a heavy car at about 1145 kilos for the top of the line, which matches with the Altroz, and that can only be a good thing, because, well, let's face it, As we enter the car, the doors are heavier. The rear doors are not so heavy, but it gives you that reassuring thud when you close the door, and the overall feel of the car is very sturdy. Once it then comes to the NVH, the noise, vibration, harshness, the harshness can be felt through the suspension because this is not a soft setup. This is not like the Tatas we used to know. They were very supple, any sort of arena, and it'll do a swell job. What this means essentially is that all bumps and road undulations and potholes and speed breakers can be felt inside the cabin, but the high speed stability goes up tremendously. This is a very potent car. The way it is built, the chassis, etc. is really nice. I wish for the third time that Tata had plonked the 1.2 motor from the Altroz, and because this is a very potent and a capable car, it would have been able to take it. As a matter of fact, we've already tried the hard cornering on this car, and believe it or not, it can actually go. The tires are good. Of course, you'll need to upgrade to 205s if you were to drive the 1.2 turbocharged petrol on this one, but everything else works like a charm. If you're looking for a car in this segment, this very much could be a contender. We'd like to mention here that nobody knows it better than Tata to cannibalize your own products because someone else will. We're going to cite the example of the Koreans, because the Korean cousins are available all sorts of engines and all sorts of gearboxes, right from a DCT to a torque converter to an IMT now, which is very interesting. I wish Tata had done that, at least plonked it with either a diesel or the turbo petrol. What Tata says here is that they will probably offer it with the turbocharged petrol if the market responds accordingly. But I'm thinking that anybody who drives the car, for a first time driver, I think it should be okay, but for someone who has been driving cars for a long time, they will wait for the turbo petrol, as should you. One other thing is that the braking on this car is just tremendous. It will stop, it will come to a halt, it will slow down very quickly. It's just got disc brakes in the front and drums at the back, but it gives you a lot of confidence. It's very confidence inspiring, just as is the drive at high speeds. The high speed stability is quite good, but that also brings us to the safety aspect. Since it's all a safety aspect, the car is built around safety. It's got a host of features when it comes to safety. Here is what it looks like on your screens. It has been quite a day and quite an extensive review of the Tata Punch. We really like this baby Tata. It looks promising, it's a good car, but it's now time to give it a verdict. There could be a few things here and there that are missing that could have made this a stronger proposition than it already is. But what should you do? Should you fire it and give it a miss because it's not worth it? Should you admire it, albeit from a distance, because let's face it, it's a handsome looking car, but there is better competition out there? Or should you desire it and probably make it a contender because this may just be the one, or just simply bring it home and make it your Saathi? We reckon you should shortlist the Tata Punch. It's a great car and an all-rounder. It's got enough space, it's a easy city-friendly car, it's an easy commuter, it has what it takes, but it's still missing that punch. I wish that they had plonked the 1.2 turbocharged petrol motor from the Tata Altroz, and this probably would have been the right car. That's all from us today, folks. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. And if you already haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, you can do that now. And while you're doing that, hit the subscribe and the bell notification icon to never miss an update when we make a brand new upload of a city-friendly, cutesy, yet a very capable SUV like the Tata Punch. Until next time, this is your Saathi, Shishir, signing off. Take care.